Hello, sawubona mbukeli. Sesifikile thina nohlelo oluthanda kakhulu Yilungelo Lakho, it's your right. Sinilethela lona bukhoma la kumahamba phambili phela SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Mina mbukeli uyazi ngo-Alish intombi yakajali. Khumbula nawe phela ungakwazi ukubamba iqhaza kulolu hlelo ngokuthi usishayele la e-studio. Ucingo lwethu luthi 0117146918 noma 0117146919. I-email address yethu ithi consumer@sabc.co.za. You can also visit our Facebook page or send us a tweet. Sawubona mbukeli. For today, Mbugeli, honesty is the best policy, maybe a cliché, but it is certainly not a hollow statement when it comes to the insurance industry. A life insurance policy is an option many consumers rely on to protect their loved ones or dependents in the event of a misfortune, such as the death or disability of a breadwinner. But reaping the benefits of such a policy is not guaranteed, as failure to disclose the truth could jeopardize the payment of a claim.
Ukuthatha insurance seyinto abantu abaninzi bathembela kuyo khona ukuze bamelane nenzima ezilandela ukushiywa ngumuntu obekuxhonyiwe kuye kwezoqoqosho. Ukandi bambi bayithathela imihla kaxakeka efana nokwenzakala emzimbeni okuthindela ukuba ubani aphinda akwazi ukusebenza.
You take life insurance to cover for a specific event or a specific need. And for example, you might have a family, you might need to make sure that should something happen to you or should you die, and your family will have enough income to continue living the kind of life they're living.
Ugumede uthi noxa into elula into yokufumana insurance, kubalulekile ukuba umthengi aqaphele kubaleka udiza iinkcukacha ezibalulekileyo. Ukugcina iziphathelele kwisimo sempilo salowo uthatha insurance. Kuthi mininzi imizekelo apho abantu bathi bafihle isimo sempilo becinga ukuba ngokwenza oko bayazikhusela. Uthi ingozi enkulu leyo.
You must tell as much as possible given your health status, for example. Because if you don't do that, should it then be found that you did not disclose at inception stage, you might not have been priced correctly as to your risk. That might create problems come claim stage if that information is found out.
Kodwa ngubani waziyo ukuba yintoni ekufuneka ichaziwe, intoni ekufuneka ingavezwa. Iinkcukacha ezibonakala zingabalekanga kumthengi zingenza umahluko omkhulu ekubaleni ukuba yimalini ekufuneka ihlawulwe. Ukumeda uthi banendlela yokuyikhangela into yokuba ingaba umuntu unyanyisekile na okanye ufihla isimo esinokuchaphazela inhlawulo.
There is material disclosure and non-material disclosure. Material disclosure, we perform what is called a reasonableman test. Reasonableman test says, when Mr. Mdota was being asked these questions, would he have known that not disclosing this information would affect his premium in one way or the other, or his level of cover in one way or the other? If it's found out that the information that Mr. Mdota gave, he willingly held back some of the information, that might cause premiums problems.
Kubonakala ukuba phambi kokuba uthathe insurance kufuneka ube uyayazi imeko kuyo ngokwempilo. Kwaye yeyiphi into enokubeka ubomi bakho esichengeni. Ezi nkcukacha kufuneka uzichaze khona ukuze xa kufika ixesha lokuhlawula kungabikho mpikiswano. Kuvuyisile Mdota, Yilungelo Lakho.
Siyabonga kakhulu ngalo mbiko esiwudidiyelwe nguVuyisile Mdoda. And now to take our discussion further, let's extend a very warm welcome to our guest. We are pleased to be joined right here in studio by Ms. Susan Goneman. She is the head of claims at Altrisk. And from our Sea Point studios in Cape Town, samgela uNceba Sihlali yena ophuma kwihhovisi lomxazululi wezinkinga zemishwalensi, i-long-term insurance ombudsman. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you, Siyabonga, and thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
All right. Susan, let's start with you here in studio. Tell us a bit about your work.
I'm a claims manager, so I manage the claims that come into the department. Once you've taken out a policy and an event happens, then the claim comes to us and we assess it.
All right, let's go to Cape Town. But Nceba, awusichazele kabanzi nje ukuthi nina njenge-ofisi le-ombudi nidila ngaziphi inkinga ezimayelana nomshwalensi budi?
Sebenza ngengxaki ezininzi ezimalunga ne-insurance. I-complaints ezimalunga ne-funeral insurance, credit life, life cover, disability cover. Ingxaki siye sifumane i-complaints about abantu benga-comply kunye ne-terms ne-conditions ze-policy. Mhlawumbi i-policy lapse. Ufumanisa into yoba kukhona neenkinga ezifana noma non-disclosure, i-policy i-claim idecline ezi-insurers. Zininzi ke kuba khona nezinye ezifana noma poor investment, neengxaki ezifana noma maturity values mhlawumbi umuntu angabikho satisfied ngabo. Kakhona ke kunye ne-surrender values. Ne-information mhlawumbi engasupplywa i-insurer mhlawumbi lento kuthiwa i-poor service. Sesizifumane ingxaki ezinjalo.
Okay, all right. Now, Susan, basically, let's first understand the process that is involved before you actually get life insurance or long-term insurance.
A person has to apply for insurance, so whether it's on a paper-based application or whether it's over the phone, they're actually asking for us to cover them, the insurer to cover them, so that if something happens, that the insurer will pay them out a certain amount of money. And that's where the disclosure has to happen. So when you apply, you have to give the insurer all the information that you have so that they can assess your risk at that stage.
But why do they have to disclose, and what can they disclose, Susan?
They have to disclose everything that is a risk that the insurer has to take on. So it's mainly things like health, your health status, it's your financial status, education. And generally, there's a set of questions that the insurer asks, and you have to answer those honestly. And based on that, the insurer will decide whether they will give you the cover and at what price.
Okay, all right, let's go back to Cape Town. But Nceba, awusichazele kabanzi about the legal rules uma u-applyela lo mshwalensi.
Xa u-applyela i-insurance.
Yebo bhuti.
Okay, xa u-applyela i-insurance kufuneka wenze sure okokuqala into yoba i-broker le othetha nayo ingaba inayo na i-license from u-FSB. Ingxaki kuba khona abantu abathengisa ezi-insurances ufumanisa into yoba zii-illegal operators. Emveni kokuba uthe wafumanisa into yoba unayo i-license, yenza sure ukuba uyayifilisha i-application form le. Uyifilishe ngokwakho ukwenzela uba uzo-understanda kakuhle into yoba ngaba kufuneka ntoni, zintoni ezifunwa i-application form. U-answerise zonke ii-questions, ufunde ne-fine print before usayine. Enye into emveni kokuba uthe wagqiba ukusayina ipolicy, waze kuba khona njengoba uSusan ebeseke mention i-problems ze-non-disclosure explain uba yintoni. Kuba khona ii-questions eziye zibuzwe ezimalunga nempilo yakho. Ezo questions ezo kufuneka ukwazi uba lo mibuzo uyiphendule ngendlela enyaniseke kakhulu, because if bangaba wenza njalo at claim stage, insurer izawuvele i-decline i-claim, i-cancelishe i-policy.
Yebo, but
so kubalulekile into yoba
Yebo, but
ewe sisi.
Yebo, but qhubeka.
Ndimamele.
Oh, all right. Benifuna ukuthi since you were saying in terms of umthetho ke, sometimes umuntu une-right yokuthi anga-disclose i-health status sakhe ngenye into. But how does this apply then to life insurance if engafuni mhlawumbe ukukhuluma ngaleyo condition?
kubalulekile into yoba makathethe ngalo condition kwi-application form. Otherwise, if uba ngaba akathethi i-insurer izayidecline i-claim njengoba senditshilo e-claim stage. Le nto uSusan ebesetshilo uba kufuneka ube honest xa ufilisha i-application form, uphendule yonke le mibuzo ngendlela eyiyo. Le mibuzo idla ngoba direct questions. Iyanqala ibuza uba ingaba mhlawumbi ubunaso isisifo esithile, uke waconsult ugqirha ngexesha elithile. Kufuneka uyiphendule lo mibuzo ngendlela eyiyo uzokwazi uba i-insurer ithi xa ithe ya ukwenzela uba uzokwazi uba at claim stage wazi uba i-claim izawuthi ibhatalwe, nabo bathandayo bazawukwazi uba bajongwe ile imali ezawuthi iphume phaa kuloo benefit. Ne-insurer iyakwazi ukuthi ilowude i-premiums kwangela xesha uba ngaba uphendule inantsika ngokunyanisekileyo, ilowude i-premiums and then i-policy iqhube.
All right. And Susan, he's talking about, you know, having to be absolutely honest when you disclose these things. But why do people not disclose some of their health statuses? Is it because of a stigma or ignorance?
It can be that. It can also be that they know it's going to affect the amount of money they have to pay, or that they might not get cover. So they're trying to get it with by non-disclosing something. So they're trying to give us false information so that we would give them cover when we wouldn't normally do that. But I think stigma does play a part of it. They don't want to tell perhaps the person that's selling them the product that they have a certain condition. But that doesn't remove the fact that they should disclose. So even if you say it's a stigma and that's the reason why I didn't disclose, we can still cancel the policy at claim stage if we find out that they're non-disclosed.
And can one really not get cover because of a non-disclosure of a certain illness, Susan?
If the illness is severe enough, then, and we would not have given you cover at application stage because of that, then we do. We apply a principle called the Ditcott principle. If we would have just added a premium, or if we had added an exclusion, we'll apply that and we will still look at the policy. But if we would not have given you the policy at application stage, then obviously we will cancel the policy and refund the premiums.
All right, all right. So you still get something back. I'm sure people are just hearing the magic word there. You get your premiums back. Siphinde sikwamukele futhi mbukeli, khumbula ukuthi nawe ungabamba iqhaza endabeni yethu yanamhlanje ngokuthi usishayele ucingo ku 011 714 6918 noma 714 6919. Ungasithumela i-email ku consumer@sabc.co.za. Siyatholakala futhi ku Facebook na ku Twitter. Susan, now in terms of acquiring life insurance, do you actually ask the client to go out and get their medical records? How does that process happen?
No, we don't ask for the medical records up front. We ask them to answer the questions and tell us what is wrong with them. So they need to tell us if they've been to see a doctor for anything. They need to tell us if they've gone to see a specialist, if they've gone into hospital, if they've had any investigations, so any x-rays, blood tests, anything like that. And I always say the last one is, if in doubt and you're thinking, should I tell them? Tell the insurer what's wrong with you. The underwriter will then look at that information, and they are specialized at looking at what's material and what's not, what's risky and what's not. If they want more information, they will go back and get the medical records from the doctors and say, please give us more information about the high blood pressure or the cardiac problem, heart problem. And then they decide at that stage what they're going to offer. Are you very healthy? In which case you'll get normal rates, so you're not going to pay any more. Are you a little bit sick and we're going to make you pay a little bit more for that cover? Or maybe in the cases if you are very sick, we'll say, sorry, we can't cover you for that benefit. But you might have other options after
But Susan, what if you don't know what are the pre-existing conditions that you do actually have?
You should actually know what you've gone to the doctor for, and that's what you need to disclose. It's not necessarily a diagnosis, it's symptoms. So if you just say, I've had back pain for the last 6 months, and you disclose that, then the underwriter will pick that up and actually ask for more information. So you don't have to use technical words, you don't have to use medical terms, you just need to tell us what's right and what's wrong with you.
What if somebody hasn't gone to a doctor, they're just sitting at home, they haven't felt sick, and they just want life insurance? And Susan, why such a long pre-assessment if one can really afford that policy?
Because we have to understand how sick you are, what's your risks, because we can't have very sick people taking out insurance policies and claiming early, because then everyone else would have to pay a higher premium. So by making it affordable for everyone, we have to put in some checks and balances, and that's understanding the person's health.
All right, let's go back to Cape Town. Budungeba, awusitshela wena kabanzi umuntu ngabe imvume yakhe yini ukuthi a-update i-status sakhe mase zithola ukuthi mhlambe kunokugula nakho eseyithathile ipolice?
Akanyanzelekanga umuntu ukuba maka-update i-status xa eseyithathile ipolice. Once ipolice iqalise ukusebenza, akukho need into yoba xa mhlawumbe uziva ugula uhambe ufonele i-insurance ubachazele into yoba unesi sigulo ngoku. Eyona nto ibalulekileyo kukuba wawubachazele na ngaphambili nge-pre-existing conditions zakho. Emveni koko yonke into i-covered, akho need uba ungabachazela.
All right. And Susan, do you agree that the client does not have to, update their details if the policy has come into effect? I mean, we spoke about the waiting period in between. And tell us a bit about that as well.
Just to answer your first question, once a long-term insurance policy is in force, you don't have to tell us about any changes other than your occupation. So not changes in jobs. So if you change jobs, that we're not interested in. We're interested in whether you've gone from an administrator to becoming perhaps a farmer, because your risks are very different. But the one thing that you might also keep in mind is sometimes your health is improved. So you might be quite unhealthy, and then you decide to do lifestyle changes, and you start exercising, you stop smoking. And your risk might actually decrease. Go back and tell your insurer that information, because you might actually land up paying less insurance premiums because you're healthier. So there is a benefit to actually telling the insurer, but you don't have to tell them about that.
All right. And Budungeba, isn't it the reason some people are scared ukuthi ilokhuzana i-premium mhlambe izo affecteka uma eyo disclose i-status sakhe?
Mhlawumbi kusenokuba kunjalo, kodwa ke abantu kufuneka baqiniseke into yoba umuntu oyikiswe ngonto i-premiums mhlawumbi zizawusuke zinyuke ngokudisclose i-status sakhe. Loo nto leyo iza kumbeka ebungozini woba iclaim yakhe xa engadisclose into emphetheyo, i-insurer ikwazi uyi-assessa ngela xesha i-decide into yoba whether to apply an exclusion okanye i-load i-premiums nazo zonke into sezichazile uSusan ngaphambili. Iza-cancelishwa ipolicy yakhe xa kufikelele i-claim stage. So i-purpose yokuba athathe i-life cover ingasebenzi tu, ingabancedi abantwana bakhe, ingayincedi ifamily yakhe.
But Ngabo, I just want to ask you something as well while we're still there. What if umuntu bengazi ngempela ukuthi uyagula, kutholakala ukuthi useshonile ngempela sekumele umshwalense ukhokhe, bese kutholakala ukuthi no ushone nga something else ayingekho kule policy claim?
Uthetha ngezigulo like umuntu mhlambe begula nge-pre-existing condition.
Yebo but engazange azayifake kodwa kwipolicy yakhe ningamsiza kanjani? Angeza kunina kwi-ombudsman azosho ukuthi look umuntu mhlambe umuntu wasekhaya yena lobe i-breadwinner kwenzeke kanje but ubengazi ukuthi unale condition, everybody found out mhlambe seshonile.
Abantu banelungelo into babazithumele i-complaints ukuthi as soon as i-insurer decliner i-claim yakhe and imnika ne-reasons kuba abantu banelungelo lokufumana nezizathu zoba why i-insurer i-decliner i-claim. Bayakwazi ke ngokuba bathumele lo i-complaint zabo bazithumele e-ofisini yethu ukwenzela uba sizokwazi siziphonononge siba-investigatele, sifune i-medical records, sifune yonke i-information ezawuthi isinike ithuba loba si-assesse i-complaint sizokwenza i-decision.
Okay, but all right. Let's take Florence from Johannesburg. Sis Florence, yakwamukela ohlelweni sis, umbuzo noma umbono?
Nginombuzo sis.
Buza sis.
Yeah, uyazi ngaba ngathatha insurance ngisasebenza. I paid it for about 15 years ngangena ku retirement. Angizaba ngisana nemali ukuthi ngayibhadala. Ngathi ngiyakhona ngababuza ukuthi ngayenza bathi ayikho into siyakwenzelena mama ungasakwazi ukuyibhadala izawuthi lapse yini lapse le.
Okay ma, so ufuna sikusize kanjani ma?
Ngifuna ukubuza ukuthi what happens if you pay your insurance for that long and then you stop paying because you go retirement? Is there any money oyithola from
that
these
you are
people, or so say you were all together, you can't get it
back?
back?
Okay ma. Mam Florence sicela ulalele lapho kumabone kude wakho. Susan, she says she was paying for life insurance for about 15 years until she went into retirement, of which then she couldn't afford the premiums, and then she went to check what she can get back in terms of any money, and they said no, she couldn't get anything, but she wants to know, is she entitled to any money there? You mentioned premiums earlier.
Not really. It depends on the product the person takes out. If there's an investment portion where some of the money goes towards the life cover and some goes into an investment, there might be something back. But generally, if you just have risk-only cover, you pay it for that month and then you don't get that money back.
Oh, okay.
Think of your car insurance. You paid for this month.
Yes.
If no accident happens and you stop the premiums, then you're not going to get any money back. It's a similar principle.
Okay, but ngaba angeza uma mhlawumbe usis Florence ngendaba enjeni ngakhona ukumsiza ningamsiza kanjani mhlawumbe?
Singamnceda ngokuthi sifune i-reasons ezigcweleyo ku-insurer siphande ukwenzela into yoba azoxola naye senze i-ruling, at least izabe ijongwe ngabantu aba-independent, abantu abasecaleni bangaxelelwa yi-insurer qha kuphela. Mhlawumbi sifuna ukuqonda into yoba ngaba intoni nature ye-product, umzekelo mhlawumbi kusenoba yi-investment, uba yi-life cover, then uba yi-life cover akazukwazi nyani ukuzifumana i-premiums kuba ke ebe-covered ngalo lonke elaa xesha, kodwa loo nto leyo ayimnqandi into yoba makathumele i-complaint yakhe e-ofisini yethu.
Okay, siyabonga kakhulu bhuti ngaba. All right sis Florence, I hope ukuthi uzwele sisiwami ungalithinta ihhovisi le-ombudi lapha bazokusiza. For now, let's take another quick commercial break. Please hlala nathi ungayindawo mbukeli. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, Mbukeli. Before we continue with our discussion, let me remind you that you can also take part by calling us on 011-714-6918 or 714-6919. You can also email us your thoughts to consumer@sabc.co.za, or alternatively, visit our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Namhlanje sixoxe ngokubaluleka kokusho konke ongaba nako okuyinkinga ngempilo yakho uma phela uthatha umshwalensi ukuze phela ungazitholi ungasakhokhelwa ngoba wena ungakhulumanga iqiniso. Sisinothando from KwaZulu-Natal, siyakwamukela sisi wami. Sisinothando, are you still on the line?
Yebo sis.
Siyakwamukela sithando sami, sicela usibuze umbuzo nombeka umbono.
Ngiyabonga ke welungelo.
Yebo sis.
Ngiyabonga ke Dio wami. Udade wethu uthatha ipolicy ka-obituary le ye-funeral.
Yebo sis.
Yes, amongst ama-members kufake umfana kadade wabo ashone umfana lo okhona kwipolicy.
Okay.
Manje claima kunama-problems
Yebo ma?
ama-problems akhona asazi ukuthi uthathe isidumbu safakwa kuyiphi i-funeral parlour. Kwakhona ubugebengwana obuthize engathithi udokotela angazi owasayina whatever those documents. Kutholakala ukuthi kanti angazi uma wayeboshiwe kwathini kunobugebengwana obukhona. But all in all, udadewethu le police akene nina womfana lengikhuluma ngayo, ngikhuluma ngodadewabo kanina womfana. So ihambe problem izizofika ku-ombudsman afuna all types of documents silethe proof ukuthi washona wayishonelaphi liphi klinika kwamaletha yonke into baphendule bits and
yebo ma
akakhokhelwanga udadewethu. I-current lo police lamaza bavume aclaim. Enze njani na because it's got nothing to do nokuthi isidubu sasifake kuba udokotela wayekethi yena nansi proof ubekho and the police is still there.
Okay, sis.
Yonke inhlobo siphume siyofuna lokho sishone kamashe clinic lethani lokho sikulethe konke but ugqobhe sobonayo ile nto kadokotela engaze ngathi kutholakala ukuthi lo dokotela noma bafo the signature kadokotela emakhazeni, we don't know, but something went wrong somehow.
Sisinomthanda, before uhamba mangicela ukubuza ukuthi lento le yenzeka nini ma indaba yepolice?
2009.
2009. Awubambe kanjalo siza ukuthi ombhudi la eCape Town ngathini bhudi Nceba uyayizwa udaba la sisi wethu la usisi wakhe wathatha i-funeral policy and one of the beneficiaries wathi methu uyoclaim ababayisa left right and center till this day i-policy banayo yonke i-proof baphuma ngisho ehhovisi lenu.
I'm not sure uba mhlawumbi babefakile i-complaint. Kodwa ke ukuba ngabe benonika i-reference number besinothi xa sifikela back e-ofisini sike siyijonge le complaint yakhe. Ukuba ngaba bengakhanga ayifake kuba kukhona ne-internal ombudsman kwa Old Mutual andiyazi ke noba uthetha nge-internal ombudsman yakwa Old Mutual. Ubuthetha ngayo usenelungelo loba afake i-complaint ukuthi inkcukacha ndiyathemba ba uzawuzifuna xa sesivalelisa le nkqubo. Yeah. So umama njengoba ndisithi into ba andikho sure ubuyifakile na.
Okay.
Kodwa ke singamnceda xa enoyifaka.
Okay, sisinomthanda ke lapho kwaZulu Natal. Usesekhona elayinini ma? All right, I think we've lost Usisinomthanda, but Sisinomthanda, please ubhalele i-office le ombhudu banikeze i-reference number mayelana nalela cala owawulivulile. Asithanda uSisithandi from eJoburg. Sisithandi siyakwamukela ohlelweni.
Njani sisi?
Siyaphila sisi wami, sicela usibuze umbuzo noma ubeke umbono.
Ngicela ukubuza umbuzo ukuthi kuyingozi kangakanani ukuthatha icover ngocingo ngoba ikakhulu nje mina nginokuthatha amacover uthola ukuthi bayangifonela uthola ukuthi ngiyayithanda leyo police. Ungabikho ifomu engiyifilishayo mangabe ngithathe ngocingo. Manje ngicela ukubuza ukuthi kuyingozi kangakanani lokho.
Siyabonga kakhulu.
Ngoba abasibuzi especially mangabe abasibuzi nokuthi uphethwe yini uyagula nje just
That's a very important question. Susan, she's asking, just how dangerous is it to actually accept or take life insurance over the phone? Because they don't really ask you those questions that you mentioned have to be disclosed.
In the life insurance, there's two different types of policies. One is underwritten, where we ask a lot of questions, and it's very tailor-made to you. And then there's the generic ones that are not underwritten and are sold over the telephone. You tend to have waiting periods on those policies or pre-existing periods. And you have to understand that when you take it. It's a period of time where we will look at any condition that you've had before. So we don't ask the questions, but we do, at claim stage, go back and investigate how well you were when you took out the policy.
All right. Okay, let's leave it there for now and take Sis Flora from Johannesburg. Sis Flora, siyakwamukela ocingweni sisi.
Yebo kunjani mama?
Siyaphila mawami, sicela usibuze umbuzo noma ubeke umbono.
Kusho ukuthi ngine insurance Standard Bank.
Yebo ma.
Bengibhalisa umntwana washona 2009. Uma shona kanti ushonele ku-crime and mina ngangijoyine ngo-99 yena naye bekane insurance khona lapha e-Standard Bank. So uma ngiya ngiyoclaima imali ngangitshela ukuthi umntwana akho ushonele ku-crime akwazi ukuthola imali. Ngathi ngiyazwisisa ukuthi ngingatholi eyakhe, why ninganginiki eyami ngoba mina ngijoyinele kanti uma ujoyinele umuntu uyazi ukuthi umuntu uzofaka kanjani na. Bathi mama insurance mangabe umuntu ushonele etrainini or uzehini loro ushonele ku-crime akayitholi imali. Ngathi kodwa ni-wrong anikwazi ukusichazisela. So azange ngithole lutho total naseHolland nako bengijoyinile.
Sis Flora sicela ulalele.
Angitholanga lutho, angazi ngalithola na isizo.
Okay, una ama-documents akhe policy nama-reference number ngithi unazo zonke lezo zinto?
Nginazo zonke.
Okay sis, okay buka nje umabonakude wakho ngizocela ukuthi bakuphendule kodwa sinayo futhi ne-ombudi la uzokusiza kakhulu. Susan, she basically took out insurance and she put her son as one of the beneficiaries. Now the son died, but he died due to crime, and now the insurance says they can't pay out because he died due to crime.
It might be one of the conditions of the policy. Some policies do have that and some policies don't. I think it comes back...
But how do you know then, as a consumer, when you're about to take these things, who's supposed to tell me about these things?
There is a clause in the policy that says you've got 30 days to read the policy once you've received it, and if you're not happy, you can actually cancel. And it's very important that people taking out policies spend the time and actually read through and understand what the terms and conditions are. And then they have the right at that stage to say, I don't want the policy.
Oh, okay. And there won't be any charges incurred by them?
No,
absolutely
they will refund
whatsoever.
the premiums on that.
All right, thank you so much for that. Kumele siphinde sithathe ikhefu mbukeli. Uma wazi ukukulungele ngeke uyindawo. Yilungelo lakho Mzansi for sure. Bukeli usahleli noSjongo uMajali uthamele ilungelo lakho la ku SABC 1 uma hamba phambili uma wena unombono noma unombuzo shensha phela usithinte. Our email address is of course consumer@sabc.co.za or catch us on our social media platforms. Uma ngabe ke uqeda ukufika mbukeli, we're talking about the importance of total and honest disclosure of your health status when of course applying and acquiring long-term or life insurance. I have with me from our Cape Town studios Ubudnceba Sihlali, the long-term insurance ombud, and with me in studio here is Ms. Susan Gunneman. She's the head of claims at Altrisk. All right, let's take some of those Facebook messages in Istumele Zona Babugeli. Utsepiso Morabanyane. Utse some insurances they delay. If you claim, I even took them to the court of law. Well, Susan is going to answer that for us in a short while. Malibongwe Bele Manyonya says insurance companies are robbing poor people every day. They take advantage of those who can't read English properly. Everything they do, it's for the benefits, it's for their benefits and not for those who need their help. And when they lost their loved ones, they always try their best to get something that can make them not to pay the money. This seems to be a general consensus, Susan, but please, let's clarify the stereotype, please.
It is a perception that insurance companies are trying not to pay the claim. But the reality is every day over all the companies in the industry, we are paying out millions and millions and millions of rands. And you might have a few that you decline due to non-disclosure or because they're trying to claim for something they don't have cover for. But the majority of our claims actually do get paid. And unfortunately, those people don't tell their friends. They tell them when it's declined, they don't tell them when it's paid. But I mean, we do pay out millions across the industry.
If proper processes were followed and abided, it will be paid out.
And the thing to remember is we do deal with information. So the more information you give a claims assessor, the better and quicker they can actually process the claim.
That's what people actually should know. Let's take uBhutimzamo from Cape Town. Bhutimzamo, siyakwamukela ohlelweni umbuzo noma umbono. Bhutimzamo.
Umbuzo mnasisi.
Yebo Bhutimzamo, siyakwamukela. Qhubeka nombuzo Bhuti.
Umbuzo wami nangu sisi mina. Ndinombuzo ndathatha i-insurance yakwa Holland. Ngoku sisi ngicela ubuzo uba since uba ndayithatha le i-insurance yakwa Holland nxa sendideclare ndifuna imali yami ngaba ingandinika na?
Oh, okay bhuti wami. Okay, uyayazi i-product owayithatha baba ukuthi yiphi? Or wathatha nje i-premium?
Life cover sisi.
Oh, wathatha i-life cover. So ufuna ukwazi wena ukuthi mungaya kubona manje bangakukhokhela yini imali yakho osuyikhokhile?
Ngoba ke ndiyayithatha ecingweni zange mhlambe banibuza imininingwane yezigulo ntoni ngondinexhala loba mhlambe nxa ndinovelelwa yimpi banganzima uba bangandinika imali.
Okay, siyabonga kakhulu Bhutimzamo. uBhuticeba ukhona ngalapha eCape Town. Bhuticeba, awusichazele uthi uBhutimzamo wathatha i-insurance, i-life insurance. Uyabuza manje ukuthi abazange bambuze lembuzo yokuthi disclose ini. Nobody's ever checked up or followed up on that. Uyabuza ukuthi uzoyithola imali yakhe mase claim.
uSusan bese icacisile lento wathi insurance policies zinomahluko kukhona ezo kuthiwa zi-underwritten nezo kuthiwa zi-non-underwritten. Ezo zi-non-underwritten ziyi-policy ezifana no-funeral policies apho i-insurer iye isebenzise into ezinjengoma-waiting period noma pre-existing condition ukwenzela uba ilimite i-risk ethi ibe exposed kuyo. Ubhuti lo andiyazi noba i-life cover okanye i-funeral policy la athetha ngayo. Kodwa ke i-life cover.
Yebo uthi life cover.
Kodwa ke akanakwazi uzifumana i-premiums back because ebe covered. Andiyazi ba why bebengazange bambuze imibuzo okanye mhlambi non-underwritten policy kwayona.
Okay, all right, but is he
kodwa
right to
uba
worry?
ngaba mhlambi unaso
Yebo bhuti. Qhubeka bhuti Nceba.
Senditsho uba ngaba mhlawumbi makaqale athethe ne-insurer yakhe. Acele abachazele ngeconcern yakhe into yoba zange bambuze imibuzo, i-insurer yakhe iphendule. If uba ngaba akekho satisfied athumele lo complaint simjongele. Kuba singabantu abajongana nezikhalazo.
But Nceba nina ningamsiza kanjani umuntu ofika kunina azonichazela ukuthi lalela ngaya kule insurance abangibuzanga yonke lembuzo le mina ngakhuluma nje lokho engangibuze kona but manje abasafuna ukungikhokhela. How would one go about proving that and nixazulula kanjani nina leyo nkinga?
Kunzima uba ndingathi siyenza kanjani kodwa ke xa siphanda complaints siyayifumana i-complaint siyifumana ku-complainant siyithathe siyithumele kwi-insurer sibanike i-period yoba maba-reply. After siye sayifumana i-response from i-insurer sicomparishe sijonge ne-policy ne-terms and conditions ze-policy senze i-ruling. I-ruling is either in favor of a-complainant okanye ibe against u-complainant.
Okay.
So kuyadependa depend. It's just like a court, I lose the case okanye win the case.
It's not guaranteed. Okay. Susan, he basically says that he took life insurance and there was no questions asked for him. Now, let's say in the long run he doesn't get paid back. What would you do if he was disputing the fact that he actually wasn't told about the actual policy itself?
If it's a non-underwritten product, he wouldn't have been asked questions, and in which case, if he's continued to pay, he's probably gone through his waiting periods and he's covered. If we don't ask for something, or if we as an insurer ignore information that's given to us, then we have to pay the claimant. So we ask a question and they give us the correct answer, and we then don't do anything with that information, then we can't say to them, you're non-disclosed, because they did tell us.
All right, let's take Ntokozo from Johannesburg. But Ntokozo, siyakwamukela ohlelweni umbuzo noma umbono?
Yebo njani Sisi?
Siyaphila bhuti wami.
Ukhuluma noNtokozo amsezane ngila kwaDinqa.
Yebo Ntokozo.
Ngingafaka impahla zami ngayi-insure ukuthi mayilahleka ngizokwazi ukuyoclaim. So last week izilahlekile impahla zami uma ngiyoclaim abangitshela ukuthi ngoba yini bengakhiyanga ibhatla kusho which means i-fault yami. Ngenze njani into enganjalo sengikhokhe for 4 years khokhela lezi impahla then mase lahlekile sekuthiwa ngoba mina bengakhiyanga emnyango i-fault yami ngeke ngikhona ukuthola imali yami back.
All right. Well, today in Ntokozo, we're talking about long-term insurance, not clothing insurance. But Susan, I think we're going to talk about it very quickly when we come back. Mbukeli, sekuyisikhathi sokuthi siphinde sithathe ikhefu lethu lokugcina kodwa wena hlala nje kanjalo ungayindawo. Esigabeni sokugcina sanamhlanje selungelo lakho welcome back kuzo zonke izindawo lapho nithamele khona uhlelo lethu ushesha ke mbukeli usithinte uma ngabe usafuna usizo. Susan, what do you say to our previous case here? He insured his clothes, he's been paying for 4 years, and his house got broken into and he went to claim, and insurance said to him, well, we're not going to settle it because you left your butler not locked.
I can't actually answer that question because there's two different types of insurance. There's short-term insurance and long-term insurance. Long-term insurance is about the person. So you're looking at life cover, disability cover, impairment cover. And short-term tends to be about things, so cars, clothing, and household equipment. But in both cases, you have to give everything that the insurer requests. And there is an ombudsman also for the short-term insurance. So there's always recourse for somebody like him to actually ask for a second opinion. So there is actually a short-term ombudsman as well.
All right, let's ask a second opinion. Neba, what do you make of this case?
Asingeke sikwazi ukulithatha i-case yakhe ngenxa into yoba ifolisha under short term ombudsman. Into esinoyenza i-complaints ezinjalo ziye zifike ofisini siye sizi-redirecte sizise kuloo ndawo ene-jurisdiction for uba izimamele ezo complaints njengo-short term ombudsman.
But ngokwazi kwakho bhuti Nceba, are you able to just give us a general reaction or comment ukuthi mhlambe ningenza njani?
Singayi uba ngaba bendikwa short term ombudsman i-investigation surely iyafana kuku requesta a written response from insurer and then any other supporting documents like common policy documents, kwenzela uba sizokwazi ukuthi sijonge ii-clauses and then senze i-decision.
Oh, okay. So the process is pretty much the same, except there's a long-term and short-term ombuds. All right. Siyabonga kakhulu. Let's take ubut Weziwe from Cape Town. Weziwe, a very good afternoon to you. Siyakwamukela ohlelweni.
Good afternoon.
Siyakwamukela ma, sicela isibuzo umbuzo.
Ndijoyina ipolicy 8 months ago. Only to find out bathi xa ungasungcwatshelwa ngabo badeduct 10%. Amanye into engingayithethanga ngokuyjoyina because ngiyichazele i-amount up until the ages abantu. Nisuppose banichaze ngoba ke ngoku xa uthe awuzuthatha thina singcwabeni sizadeducta so much. And I feel it can bafanele bayithathele 10%, but it's too much 10%. It can bazayisebenza kwi-administration or whatever into zabo.
Okay.
That 10% is too much.
Mama Weziwe, ipolicy enjani lena ma isikhuluma ngayo kuqala?
I-funeral policy.
Oh, i-funeral policy usuyikhokhela for 8 months manje. Bathi bakutsheleni ngalo 10%, bathi lo 10% imali yani?
No, ngobento but the end of the month.
Oh, okay. So bakwazise ukuthi nje bazo-add ama-charges without ukukunotify.
Stange bathethe ngama-charges bathi kha uyazi xa ungazinqathi. Hopefully ngomnyama ecomplaining smelling bathi no since bengangcwatshelanga ngabo badithatha i-10%.
Is that even possible? Mnceba, I hope umzwile uma ukuthi uthini lapho, but is this possible ukuthi abantu bavane banyusa ama-premiums without ukunotify i-client?
I think ucomplainant ebengathethi ngokunyuswa kwama-premiums. Uthetha ngokuthi at claim stage ukuba ngaba le funeral parlor ayingcwabi ngokwayo okanye le insurance ayingcwabi ngokwayo iye i-deduct 10% kwi-benefit le.
Oh, okay.
Andiyazi noba mhlawumbi loo nto leyo ikhona kwi-terms and conditions zepolicy. I-complaint enjalo singathanda into yoba siyifumane ukwenzela uba siyiphonononge njenganazo nezinye ii-complaints esiye sithi sizijonge. Andikwazi uexpressa i-view on this issue now because we need information on paper.
Yebo, okay. But Nceba ke asiqhubekele phambili. Awusitshele ngama-risks that are inherent if kahle kahle umuntu eqamba amanga methatha i-insurance.
Ekokuqala ndinothi ipolicy umuntu urana i-risk xa engathethi inyani yokuba ipolicy inocancellisho. I-claim ingabhatalwa. Okanye ke i-benefit zireducwe at claim stage, nazo i-risk anothi azifumane.
All right, now let's talk about what people should be aware of, Susan, before applying for life insurance. What should be something that is just playing around their head?
To me, the most important thing is to get sound financial advice from an advisor because each person is different. So
poor people here, Susan, what is their alternative? That's where I'm coming to.
There are advisors available even to poor people.
For free?
For free, yeah. And to understand what you really need. Because sometimes you think you need cover and you don't, or you think you don't need cover and you do. So you really need to understand that. If you don't have access to an advisor, then whatever policy you get, you must read it and you must understand it. Even if you ask friends to help you understand that policy, because that is what we're going to pay out on. We always look at the information at claim stage compared to the policy. So you have to understand what you're paying for and make sure it's what you want, because sometimes you buy something and then you realize it's not exactly what you needed or what you wanted.
The product. And you did mention it earlier on, Susan, and it seems to be the general consensus today. People think that funeral policies and life insurance are actually the same thing when it's not. You need to understand that specific policy that you're on.
Yes.
All right. But Nceba, amagama akho nje okuvalelisa.
Ndingathi abantu kufuneka baqaphele kakhulu xa bezawuthenga ipolicy. Abantu kufuneka bezifundile i-terms and conditions zepolicy bazokwazi into yoba ingaba mhlawumbi kukhona ama-waiting periods, kukhona ama-pre-existing conditions, kwakunye noma-light submissions exclusion clause, because xa uba uye wahlala kakhulu at claim stage ungaclaimi and ipolicy ine-late submission exclusion clause iye idecline we-insurer xa uthe wayifaka late i-claim yakho.
But Nceba siyithatha phi?
Andiyazi noba
Yebo, but ngaba abantu abantulayo bona bayithatha phi la abangenawo ama-means ukuthi mhlambe bawo-check izinto online and stuff like that. Basizakala kuphi?
Ndithetha ngepolicy le umuntu athi ayifumane isuka kwi-insurer emveni koba ithathe ipolicy. Zi-terms and conditions ziba phaya imigaqo.
Yebo, but all right. And then Susan, your final words please for today.
Just remember, honesty is the best policy, and
Absolutely.
to give as much information as you possibly can.
All right, well, that's it for today. But Nceba, siyabonga kakhulu from our Cape Town studios. Mbukeli, saze sanomona isikhathi sanamhlanje njalo nje uma indaba isishisa be kumele sithwale imgodla yethu sivalelisa. Akusenani ke mbukeli kodwa. Let me thank my studio guests for their time and insights. Ngiphinde ngibonge nani babukeli ngokuba nathi kuze kube manje. Please do join us again next week Friday for another live consumer topic of the week. Khumbula ukuthi phela ungathola impindo yezinhlelo zethu every Monday from 12 o'clock kuya ku 1 o'clock. For myself, Alicia Jongo Kajali and the entire team, it's goodbye and sale kahle.
Hallelujah.